The sky darkened over every major city on Earth at exactly 3:17 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. It wasn't clouds. It wasn't an eclipse. It was them. Captain Alicia Warren stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, her eyes fixed on the main display. Massive ships, unlike anything humans had built, filled the screen. They were shaped like arrowheads, black as space itself, with pulsing blue lights along their edges. There were hundreds of them. "Status report," she said, keeping her voice steady despite the hammering of her heart. 57 alien vessels in high Earth orbit, Captain. Lieutenant Daniel Peters replied from the sensor station. "They're positioning themselves over every major population center. No hostile actions yet, but they've deployed some kind of energy field that's disrupting our communications." In Houston, Admiral Gregory Martinez rushed into UEDF headquarters. Aides handed him reports as he walked briskly toward the command center. "Get me the president," he ordered, scanning the documents, "and find out why our orbital defense platforms aren't responding." The massive screen at the front of the command center flickered to life. The face that appeared wasn't human. It had gray-blue skin, 6 yellow eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. "People of Earth, I am High Executor Zal Thurik of the Sorelian Empire. Your planet is now under our protection and control. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are inadequate. Your resources are required. You will surrender all military assets and governmental authority to Sorelian Command immediately. You will kneel before your new masters or face extinction. You have 6 Earth hours to comply." The transmission ended abruptly. President Ellen Reeves sat in the emergency bunker beneath the White House, surrounded by military advisors and cabinet members. Her face was grim as she watched the alien message replay on the screen. "Options?" she asked simply. "Madam President, our conventional weapons would be like throwing rocks at a tank," said Defense Secretary Alan Moss. "The aliens have technology far beyond our current capabilities." Dr. Samuel Carter cleared his throat. All eyes turned to the quiet scientist in the corner. "Not entirely beyond, Madam President," he said. "There's something you need to know about Project Starshield." Back on the UES Defender, Captain Warren received new orders directly from Admiral Martinez. She read them twice to make sure she understood correctly. "Lieutenant Peters," she called, "you mentioned something about a weakness in their communications." Peters nodded, his fingers flying over his console. "Yes, Captain. Their transmissions use a quantum frequency modulation that's incredibly advanced, but they don't seem to encrypt their tactical channels. I think they don't expect us to have the technology to intercept them." "Can we use that?" Warren asked. "Maybe. If we can access their command network, we might be able to disrupt coordination between their ships." At the United Nations, an emergency session had descended into chaos. Representatives shouted over each other as the Secretary General tried to maintain order. "We cannot fight them," the Russian ambassador yelled. "Did you see those ships? So we just surrender our planet," the British representative countered. Outside, people flooded the streets of every major city. Some prayed, some looted, some just stared up at the massive dark shapes hovering in the sky, blocking out the sun. Major Lisa Franklin watched the chaos from her fighter jet as she patrolled the airspace above New York. "Control, this is Eagle One. I've got civilian aircraft ignoring the no-fly order. What are my instructions?" "Eagle One, escort them to the ground. Use force if necessary. We can't have unauthorized aircraft while those things are up there." In the Oval Office, President Reeves signed the authorization for Operation Defiance. Her hand was steady, her expression resolved. "They expect us to kneel," she said to the small group gathered around her. "They don't know humans very well." Admiral Martinez studied the preliminary reports from Dr. Carter. Project Starshield had been hidden from even him. The scope of it was astonishing. "Begin deployment," he ordered. "And may God help us all." The 6-hour deadline approached. Humanity's answer was about to be delivered. Dr. Samuel Carter led President Reeves and Admiral Martinez down a long elevator shaft that seemed to descend forever into the earth. The walls were bare concrete, and the only sound was the hum of the elevator motors. "How deep are we going?" President Reeves asked. 2 miles underground, Madam President," Dr. Carter replied. "We needed to hide this from orbital scans." When the elevator finally stopped and the doors opened, they stepped into a massive underground facility. The cavern stretched for miles, filled with engineers, scientists, and military personnel working around giant machines and spacecraft unlike anything the president had seen before. "Welcome to Project Starshield," Dr. Carter said. "We've been preparing for this day for 10 years. Admiral Martinez stared in shock. How was this kept secret from even top military officials? Black budget funding spread across 17 different agencies, Dr. Carter explained. Need-to-know basis only. Chief Engineer Olivia Nguyen approached them, wiping grease from her hands. She was young, only 32, but her eyes held the confidence of someone twice her age. "The light drive is ready, Dr. Carter," she said. "We've installed it in the first 50 vessels." "Light drive?" President Reeves asked. Nguyen nodded. "A propulsion system that bends space around the ship instead of pushing the ship through space. It gives us speeds the aliens won't expect." On the surface, the 6-hour deadline passed. The alien ships began to move, positioning weapons systems to target major military installations. Commander Ryan Kelly received his orders while stationed at Lunar Base Alpha. He was to lead Squadron 7, the first attack group equipped with the new technology. He gathered his pilots in the briefing room. "I know this sounds crazy," he told the 20 men and women before him, "but we're going to take the fight to them." A young pilot raised her hand. "Sir, with what? Our fighters don't stand a chance against those ships." Kelly pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing a sleek black fighter with unusual engines and weapon systems. "These aren't our usual fighters," he said. "These are Nova-class interceptors, and they're going to change everything." In a small town called Oakville, Nebraska, people ran screaming as a Xorelian scout ship landed in the town square. The ship opened, and 3 alien soldiers emerged. They stood 7 feet tall, with armored exoskeletons and weapons attached to their arms. Sheriff Joe Simmons stood his ground as others fled. He held his service pistol, knowing it would do little good. "This is Earth territory," he called out. "You are not welcome here." The aliens moved toward him, making clicking sounds to each other. Sheriff Simmons fired his gun. The bullets bounced off their armor. One alien raised its arm, and a beam of energy shot out, hitting the ground at the sheriff's feet. Before they could fire again, the sound of engines roared overhead. Major Lisa Franklin led her squadron of conventional fighters in a strafing run. Their bullets couldn't penetrate the aliens' armor either, but the distraction worked. The people of Oakville had time to escape. Back in the underground facility, Dr. Carter showed President Reeves the crown jewel of Project Starshield, a network of orbital defense platforms disguised as communications satellites, weather stations, and space debris. 120 platforms, each armed with particle beam weapons, he explained. They've been there for years, hiding in plain sight. Why weren't they activated when the aliens arrived? Admiral Martinez asked. "We needed to wait," Dr. Carter said. "If we revealed our hand too soon, they would have destroyed them immediately. Now we have a chance to catch them by surprise." In orbit, Captain Warren received new orders. The UES Defender would lead a small fleet of Earth's conventional ships on what seemed like a suicide mission, a direct assault on the Xorelian command vessel. "They'll think we're desperate," she told her crew. "That we're throwing everything we have at them in a last stand. Aren't we?" Lieutenant Peters asked. Captain Warren smiled. "No, we're the distraction." Around the world, in secret bases and hidden bunkers, humanity prepared its response. The Xorelians had ordered Earth to kneel. Earth had decided to stand and fight instead. Dr. Nathan Brooks had not slept in 3 days. Empty coffee cups surrounded his workstation at MIT's underground laboratory. He stared at his computer screen, watching patterns of light pulse and fade. "It's a neural network," he muttered to himself. "They don't communicate with radio waves or digital signals. They use artificial telepathy." He picked up his phone and dialed a number few people had access to. "Get me Admiral Martinez," he said. "I know how to disrupt their command structure." In orbit, Captain Morin's ship, the UES Defender, approached the massive Xorelian command vessel. On her view screen, dozens of alien fighters launched from the larger ship. "Hold steady," she ordered her crew. "Remember, we're the distraction." Lieutenant Peters monitored the enemy communications from his station. "Captain, they're calling us primitive suicide vessels. They think we're desperate." Warren smiled. "Perfect. All ships, prepare to engage on my mark." Elsewhere in Earth orbit, Lieutenant Commander Maria Ortiz led a team of 6 soldiers in stealth suits. Their small craft, barely larger than a car and covered in light-bending material, drifted toward one of the smaller Xorelian ships. "Target acquired," she whispered into her comm. Team Phantom beginning infiltration. They attached to the alien hull using magnetic clamps, then cut through with laser tools. Their mission: capture Xorelian technology and bring it back for study. Admiral Martinez stood in the command center, watching multiple battles unfold on different screens. Captain Morin's decoy fleet had engaged the enemy. Commander Kelly's squadron was approaching from the dark side of the moon. And now something unexpected was happening. "Sir," a technician called out, "the orbital platforms are activating." On the main screen, dozens of satellites that had appeared harmless suddenly transformed, panels sliding away to reveal weapon systems. They fired in perfect unison, blue-white beams slicing through space. 3 Xorelian ships exploded before they realized what was happening. "Implement Scattered Stars Protocol," Martinez ordered. "Don't let them target our platforms." The defense platforms began to move, using small thrusters to change position, making them harder to hit. They fired again and again, each blast taking out alien ships. In space, Commander Kelly led his squadron of Nova fighters toward the battle. The new ships were smaller than conventional fighters, but faster and more agile. "Remember your training," he told his pilots. "These ships can do things you're not used to. Trust the technology." They accelerated to speeds that would have crushed them without the light drive technology. The stars blurred around them as they approached the fight. On the Xorelian command ship, High Executor Zal Thuric received reports of unexpected resistance. Earth's primitive vessels were causing damage. Hidden weapons platforms were destroying his fleet. And now new fighters approached with impossible speed. "Bring in the second wave," he ordered. "Signal the home system for reinforcements." Back on Earth, in factories and shipyards hidden underground, in underwater facilities, and in secret mountain bases, production continued day and night. Engineers and workers built more ships, more weapons, more defenses. What had taken years to develop could now be mass-produced in days. President Reeves addressed the workers at the largest facility, a converted auto plant in Detroit. "Every ship you build saves lives," she told them. "Every hour you work brings us closer to victory." Lieutenant Commander Ortiz and her team moved through the alien ship, downloading data and collecting technology samples. They encountered 2 Xorelian crew members and had to use their silenced weapons. "Their blood is purple," one soldier whispered in surprise. "Focus on the mission," Ortiz replied, placing a small device on what appeared to be the ship's engine. "Plant the tracker and let's go." As Earth's counterattack gained momentum, High Executor Zal Thuric sent a new message to all human communication systems. His 6 yellow eyes seemed to glow with anger. "Humans," he said, "your resistance is unexpected but futile. Our homeworld was destroyed centuries ago. We have traveled across galaxies to find a new home. Earth is our chosen world. You cannot stop us. You will not stop us. Needle or be erased from existence. The transmission ended, but humanity's answer was already clear in the burning wreckage of Taurelian ships scattered across Earth's orbit. Admiral Martinez named it Operation Eclipse. The first major human counter-offensive against the Taurelian fleet was ready to launch. Over 500 ships gathered in the shadow of Mars, hidden from alien scanners. "All vessels report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. Martinez nodded. "Send the signal. Begin Operation Eclipse." Captain Alicia Warren stood on the bridge of her ship, now renamed the UES Intrepid after extensive upgrades. It was bigger, faster, and armed with weapons reverse-engineered from the technology Lieutenant Commander Ortiz's team had stolen. "All hands to battle stations," Warren ordered. "Prepare for light drive jump." The ship hummed as the new engines powered up. Space itself seemed to bend around them. And suddenly they were in the middle of the Taurelian fleet. 20 other Earth ships appeared at the same moment, all firing immediately. The aliens had no time to react. 3 of their massive dreadnoughts exploded before they could raise shields. The Intrepid targeted the largest enemy ship, firing particle beams that cut through its hull like paper. Across the solar system, Commander Ryan Kelly led his fighter squadron against another group of alien vessels. The battle was fierce. His pilots executed maneuvers that would have been impossible in conventional aircraft, twisting and turning at speeds that made the stars blur. "Phoenix 2, on your left," Kelly shouted into his comm as he saw an alien fighter targeting one of his pilots. He banked hard, bringing his weapons to bear, and fired. The alien ship exploded. "Thanks, Commander," came the reply. That was close. But not all were so lucky. One by one, Kelly watched as his squadron took hits. Good pilots, friends, disappeared in flashes of light. "Keep fighting," he ordered, even as his own ship took damage. "We need to take out their command vessel." The Taurelian commander's ship was massive, a city-sized fortress that directed the alien fleet. Kelly and his remaining pilots focused their attack on one spot, a weakness they had identified from Ortiz's stolen data. On Mars, something unexpected happened. The small human colony, thought to be nothing more than a research outpost, suddenly bristled with weapons. Hidden gun emplacements rose from the red dust. Energy shields enveloped the colony. General Frank Ramirez, commander of Mars Defense Force, gave the order, "Fire everything we have." The Taurelian ships approaching Mars were caught in a crossfire between the colony's defenses and the Earth fleet attacking from behind. Back on Earth, Dr. Samuel Carter and Dr. Nathan Brooks worked together in a secure lab, studying the alien biology samples recovered from the captured ships. "Their nervous systems are sensitive to this frequency," Brooks said, pointing to data on a screen. "If we can broadcast it during battle, they'd be unable to function," Carter finished. "We need to get this to weapons development immediately." The Taurelian fleet, facing unexpected resistance, split into 3 battle groups. One continued to attack Earth, one engaged the Mars defenses, and one turned to face Captain Warren's forces. "They're trying to overwhelm us by dividing our attention," Admiral Martinez observed. "But we anticipated this. Launch Phase 2. In space, Major Lisa Franklin led a wing of fighters equipped with the new Sunfire missiles. These weapons carried warheads designed specifically to affect Taurelian biology, based on Brooks and Carter's research. "Target their central ships," Franklin ordered her pilots. "Those missiles are too valuable to waste on smaller vessels." The fighters darted between larger ships, launching their specialized weapons. When the missiles detonated, they didn't cause explosions. Instead, they released energy pulses that caused the alien crews to collapse in agony, leaving their ships drifting and vulnerable. On the UES Intrepid, Captain Warren received word of a major victory. Her ship had successfully destroyed the Taurelian dreadnought, the largest kill so far in the war. "Don't celebrate yet," she told her cheering crew. "We've won a battle, not the war." On his damaged fighter, Commander Kelly watched as the alien command vessel finally exploded after sustained attacks from his squadron. Only 3 of his original 20 pilots remained. "This is for everyone we lost," he said quietly as the massive ship broke apart. High Executor Zell Thurak, watching from his personal vessel, could not understand what was happening. How had these primitive humans developed such technology so quickly? How were they fighting with such effectiveness against a superior force? For the first time in centuries of conquest, the Xorelian leader felt something unfamiliar: doubt. The alien scientist was smaller than other Xorelians, with only 4 eyes instead of 6. Earth scientists had named him Sendar based on markings on his uniform. He sat in a special chamber designed to match the atmosphere of Xorelian ships. 2 armed guards stood nearby, weapons ready. Dr. Samuel Carter entered the room, accompanied by Admiral Martinez and Captain Morin. They sat across from the alien, a clear barrier between them. "Why does your species attack worlds that pose no threat to you?" Carter asked through a translation device developed from captured technology. Zendar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Survival. Our homeworld died when our sun expanded. We became travelers, seeking new homes. The first world we found, we asked to share. They refused. We learned then that asking leads to rejection. Taking ensures survival." "How many worlds have you conquered?" Admiral Martinez asked. 17 inhabited planets across 12 star systems. Earth is the 18th. Captain Morin leaned forward. "And the people of those worlds? Those who submitted served the Empire. Those who resisted were removed." Miles away, Lieutenant Daniel Peters and Chief Engineer Olivia Nguyen worked to decode the alien database recovered from a captured ship. They had been at it for days, taking turns sleeping on cots in the lab. "I think I've got something," Peters said, pointing to his screen. "These look like coordinates." Nguyen studied the data. 17 sets of coordinates. The conquered worlds. "We should tell the Admiral immediately," Peters said. "If these worlds are still inhabited." Nguyen was already reaching for the secure phone. In Washington, D.C., President Reeves received the news with a thoughtful expression. "So we're not just fighting for Earth," she said to her advisors. "We're potentially fighting to free other enslaved species. If we can win here," Admiral Martinez replied from a video screen, "I propose we take the fight to them. A liberation fleet to free these other worlds." The president nodded slowly. "From defenders to liberators. Prepare your plans, Admiral." Before she could say more, alarm sounded. Her chief of staff burst into the room. "Madam President, the aliens have released some kind of weapon over New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Reports say it's biological in nature." On the main screen, footage showed a green mist descending from Xorelian ships. People caught in it collapsed, their skin turning gray. "Get Dr. Brooks on this immediately," the president ordered, "and authorize the deployment of the Nova-class warships. It's time to end this." In his laboratory, Dr. Nathan Brooks watched the footage of the biological attack with horror. He immediately began analyzing samples collected by hazmat teams. "It targets human DNA," he explained to Dr. Carter when he arrived. "But I think I can develop a countermeasure. I need time." "Work fast," Carter replied. "Thousands are already affected." On the bridge of the UES Intrepid, Captain Morin received new orders directly from Admiral Martinez. She studied them with surprise. "We're to break through the Xorelian blockade and make contact with Proxima Centauri II," she told her first officer. "Apparently, it's one of the conquered worlds, and it may have resistance fighters we can ally with." "Can we get through their defenses?" the officer asked. "With our new light drive, we can try," Warren replied. "Prepare the ship for deep space travel." In orbit around Jupiter, the first of the Nova-class warships prepared for launch. These massive vessels had been built in secret shipyards, hidden among the gas giants' moons. Each was 3 times the size of the largest previous human ships and carried weapons that could devastate entire fleets. Admiral Martinez addressed the captains of these new ships via secure channel. What you command are the most powerful weapons humanity has ever built. Your mission is to push the Xorelians out of our solar system once and for all." High Executor Zal Thurek watched from his command ship as human vessels appeared from hiding places throughout the solar system. They seemed to be everywhere now, behind moons, rising from Earth's oceans, emerging from the gas giants' atmospheres. "How many ships do these humans have?" he demanded of his officers. None could answer. The biological weapon had been his last desperate move to break Earth's resistance. Instead, it seemed to have only angered them further. A junior officer approached nervously. "High Executor, we've lost contact with our forces over Mars, and our long-range sensors detect large energy signatures approaching from Jupiter. Very large." For the first time in his long life, Zal Thurek felt fear. Humanity's largest battle group assembled in Earth orbit. 217 ships of various sizes, from the massive Nova-class warships to small, fast attack vessels. Admiral Martinez named it the Liberation Fleet. Its mission was unlike anything humans had attempted before: to travel beyond the solar system and free other worlds from Xorelian control. "This is not just about Earth anymore," Admiral Martinez told the fleet commanders during their final briefing. "This is about freedom for all sentient beings under Xorelian oppression." Commander Ryan Kelly, his face still bearing scars from his previous battle, was assigned to lead a Special Forces team. Their target was Proxima Centauri II, the closest of the conquered worlds. Intelligence suggested it had an active resistance movement. "We go in quiet," Kelly told his team as they prepared their stealth ship. "Make contact with the resistance, provide them with weapons and training. Then coordinate attacks with the main fleet's arrival." The Special Forces ship was small and black, designed to absorb rather than reflect sensor scans. It carried enough weapons to equip several hundred resistance fighters. On Earth, Dr. Brooks had developed a cure for the Xorelian biological weapon. Medical teams distributed it in the affected cities, saving thousands of lives. But the attack had hardened humanity's resolve. The war was no longer just about survival, but justice. President Reeves addressed the United Nations. "The Xorelians came here demanding we kneel before them. Instead, we stood. Now we will reach out to others who have been forced to kneel and help them stand again." The Liberation Fleet departed with a flash of light as hundreds of light drives activated simultaneously. The ships vanished from Earth's orbit, leaving only the defense fleet behind. Commander Kelly's team arrived at Proxima Centauri II 3 days before the main fleet. Their ship slipped past Xorelian patrols and landed in a dense forest area. The planet looked much like Earth, but with purple vegetation instead of green. "Movement at 2 o'clock, whispered one of Kelly's soldiers, raising her weapon. From the trees emerged strange beings. They walked on 2 legs, but had 4 arms and skin that shifted colors to match their surroundings. Their eyes were large and completely black. One stepped forward. "You are not Xorelian," it said in a musical voice. "Who are you?" "We're humans, from Earth," Kelly replied. "We've come to help you fight the Xorelians." The alien's skin flickered with blue patterns, an emotional response. The prophecy speaks of sky allies who would come when the 3 moons align. That alignment happened yesterday. Kelly smiled. "I don't know about prophecies, but we brought weapons, and we know how to hurt the Xorelians." Back on Earth, Captain Warren's ship, the UES Intrepid, prepared to join the Liberation Fleet. Before departure, she received a special assignment from Admiral Martinez. "We've detected communication between conquered worlds," he told her. "It seems news of our resistance has spread. You're to act as our diplomatic vessel. Make contact with as many resistance movements as possible and form a coalition." Warren nodded. "A united front against the Xorelians." "Exactly. The Free Systems Alliance. Your ship leaves in 6 hours." Major Lisa Franklin found herself in an unusual position. Her fighter squadron had been assigned to train alien resistance fighters to use Earth weapons. The 4 armed beings from Proxima Centauri III learned quickly. They're natural pilots, she told Commander Kelly after the first training session. Their extra arms give them an advantage with the controls. Kelly watched the aliens practice with the weapons his team had brought. They've been fighting the Xorelians for 30 years with nothing but primitive projectile weapons. Imagine what they'll do with our technology. As word spread among the conquered worlds that Earth had successfully resisted the Xorelians, uprisings began. The alien empire that had seemed unbeatable for centuries now faced challenges on multiple fronts. High Executor Zal Thurek received reports of these uprisings with growing alarm. "Send ships to crush these rebellions," he ordered. "We cannot," his second-in-command replied. "Our forces are spread too thin already. The humans have pushed us back in their system, and now they threaten our holdings elsewhere. Then we must regroup," Zal Thurek decided. "Pull back to our core systems. We will crush these humans and their allies with our full might." But the Xorelian Empire had begun to fracture. For the first time in centuries, hope spread among the conquered species. The humans had shown that the oppressors could be defeated. Freedom was possible. The combined Allied fleet gathered at the edge of the Theta Reticuli system. It was a sight that would have been impossible just months ago. Ships from 17 different species, all former victims of Xorelian conquest, now united under a single banner. At the center of this massive armada were the Earth vessels, led by Admiral Martinez aboard the flagship Nova Descendant. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. Martinez looked at the tactical display showing over 3,000 vessels of various sizes and designs. Earth had contributed 300 ships, but the rest came from the liberated worlds. Some were captured Xorelian vessels, repurposed to fight their former masters. "Send the signal," Martinez ordered. All ships commenced the attack. This was the final push. Intelligence indicated that High Executor Zal Thurek had withdrawn his remaining forces to this system, the location of their central command base. On the UES Intrepid, Captain Warren coordinated with the ships from Proxima Centauri II. Their 4 armed pilots had proven to be exceptional fighters. "Remember the plan," she told them through the communication system. "Your faster ships draw their fire while our heavy vessels target their command centers." The Allied fleet moved forward, spreading out in the formation they had practiced. The largest space battle in human history was about to begin. Meanwhile, on a stealth vessel approaching from the opposite direction, Lieutenant Daniel Peters worked frantically at his console. He had volunteered for this dangerous mission after discovering something in the Xorelian database that no one else had noticed. "There's a pattern in their most secure communications," he explained to Commander Kelly, who led the mission. "References to something they call the Devourer." "What is it?" Kelly asked, checking his weapon. "I don't know yet, but they're terrified of it. I think it might be the real reason they've been conquering worlds. They're running from something." Their small ship slipped past the outer defenses of the Xorelian command station. Their mission was to infiltrate and retrieve the most classified Xorelian data. Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Nguyen and Dr. Nathan Brooks had made a breakthrough with the light drive technology. "We've modified the engines to achieve speeds 10 times faster than the current version," Nguyen explained to President Reeves via video conference. "This puts us beyond anything the Xorelians have." "How soon can we implement this?" the president asked. "We've already sent the upgrade instructions to the fleet," Brooks replied. "They should be receiving them now." In space, the battle rage. Thousands of ships exchanged fire, creating a light show visible from planets light years away. The Xorelians fought desperately, but the combined might of the Allied fleet was overwhelming. Admiral Martinez received the upgrade instructions from Earth. "Implement immediately on all Earth vessels," he ordered. "Then share the specifications with our allies." As the Earth ships received the upgrades, their maneuverability and speed increased dramatically. They began to outflank the Xorelian vessels, hitting them from unexpected angles. Inside the Xorelian command station, Lieutenant Peters and Commander Kelly fought their way to the central data core. 3 of their team had already fallen to enemy fire. "Cover me," Peter said as he connected his device to the alien computer. "This will take a few minutes." Kelly fired his weapon at approaching Xorelian soldiers. "Make it quick. We're running out of time." Peters worked furiously, breaking through layer after layer of encryption. "I'm in," he finally said. "Downloading now." His eyes widened as information flooded his screen. "Commander, you need to see this. The Devourer. It's some kind of cosmic entity that consumes entire star systems. The Xorelians have been fleeing from it for centuries, staying just ahead of its path. So they've been conquering worlds not just for resources, but for places to retreat to," Kelly realized. "Yes, and according to this data, it's headed toward our region of space. It will reach here in approximately 50 Earth years." In her office in Washington, President Reeves prepared a speech to address the Alliance of Free Worlds. Her words would propose a new galactic charter, a united government of former Xorelian victims and Earth. In the Theta Reticuli system, the Allied fleet closed in on High Executor Zal Thurek's flagship. It was the last major Xorelian vessel still fighting. The rest had been destroyed or had surrendered. The long struggle was nearly over. But a new, greater threat loomed on the horizon. The last battle ended not with destruction, but with surrender. High Executor Zal Thurek's flagship, surrounded by hundreds of Allied vessels, powered down its weapons. After centuries of conquest, the Xorelian Empire had fallen. Captain Alicia Warren stood on the bridge of the UES Intrepid as the transmission came through. On her view screen appeared the 6 yellow eyes of Zal Thurek. "We surrender to the human-led alliance," the Xorelian leader said. His voice no longer carried the arrogance it once had. "Our remaining forces will stand down." Warren nodded. "Your surrender is accepted. Prepare to receive boarding parties. You will be treated according to the Galactic Rights Agreement established by the Allied Council." When the transmission ended, a cheer went up from her crew. Warren allowed them this moment of celebration. They had earned it. 1 month later, representatives from all 18 formerly conquered species gathered on Earth. The United Nations building had been expanded to accommodate the various atmospheric needs and body types of the different aliens. Some breathed methane, others stood 9 feet tall, and a few communicated through color patterns on their skin rather than sound. President Reeves addressed this historic gathering. "Today, we formalize the Allied Systems Charter. No longer will any species stand alone against threats. Together, we are stronger than any empire." She signed the document, then passed it to the representatives of each world, human and alien, side by side, creating a new future. Commander Ryan Kelly walked the halls of the research facility where Dr. Carter and Dr. Brooks now worked. After his mission to the Xorelian Command Center, Kelly had been assigned to a new task, preparing for the greater threat that lay ahead. "The data is clear," Dr. Brooks explained, showing Kelly the star charts. "The entity the Xorelians called the Devourer is moving through the galaxy, consuming energy from stars and planets. At its current pace, it will reach our region of space in 50 years. Can it be stopped?" Kelly asked. "We don't know yet, but with the combined knowledge of 19 species, including the Xorelians who have studied it longest, we have a better chance than any single civilization would have had." On Mars, a new shipyard stretched across Valles Marineris. Ships from all Allied worlds came here for upgrades and repairs. Chief Engineer Olivia Nguyen oversaw the installation of advanced propulsion systems on vessels from a dozen different worlds. "The new light drive Mark III can be adapted to any ship design," she explained to a group of alien engineers. "It gives us the ability to reach any part of the galaxy in weeks rather than years." This technology sharing was happening across all Allied worlds. Humans taught FTL travel, while other species shared their own advances, from energy shields to weather control, from medical technology to food production. In orbit around Jupiter, Admiral Martinez assumed command of the combined defense forces. The Allied Council had unanimously selected him for this position. "Our first task," he told his multi-species command staff, is to establish early warning systems throughout Allied space. Our second is to build a fleet that can face the Devourer when it arrives. Captain Warren, now Admiral Warren, led the first diplomatic mission beyond Allied space. There were other civilizations out there, unknown to both humans and Sorelians. Some might become new allies, others might pose new threats. We go as explorers and diplomats, she told her crew as they prepared to depart. Not conquerors. On Earth, in the rebuilt cities that had suffered during the war, humans and aliens worked side by side. Children from Earth played with children from distant stars, learning each other's languages and customs. Zendar, the Sorelian scientist who had first revealed his empire's history, now worked with a team of human scientists. Our people conquered out of fear, he explained. Yours united out of hope. That is why you succeeded where we failed. High Executor Zal Thurek, now a prisoner of war, but treated with dignity, watched Earth's night sky from his secure facility. Where once he had seen a primitive world ripe for conquest, he now saw the center of a powerful alliance. The aliens had ordered humanity to kneel. Instead, humanity had reached for the stars and created something greater than any empire. Together with their new allies, they now prepared to face a threat that dwarfed even the Sorelian conflict. And they would face it standing tall, never kneeling, never surrendering.